So good evening, everyone. And I'm so excited to conduct this roundtable and explore more about the different dimensions of art and AI, because this is a topic which is very rapidly developing. It's something which the world is talking about right now, but we rarely hear it being spoken about from the artist's perspective. So this is so amazing that Guy is organizing this and hosting this. So I think we have a beautiful introduction of all of you, so we can already dive right in. So I think the first opening question, and this is again for all of you, the really idea is to kind of have an exchange with all of you. So it's going to be discussion. Feel free to jump in. Feel free to, add on to each other's ideas, because I think that's what makes it a very whole and complete interaction with all of us. And audience as well, we're going to have a Q&A, we're going to have a discussion, so please feel free to contribute in this roundtable. So I think the first kind of aspect of AI and art comes in through the dimension and the extent, right? So as artists, I know that you put in a lot of time and creativity, and there's a background into whatever you produce and make. It's a long process. So here, what is the extent which you think, or what is the scope which you see AI influencing your artwork? Would you like to?
You're looking at me like I need to start then. Okay. So earlier in the evening, me and Misch, we were ambushed by Guy, and we had to do a podcast, and we already had a little discussion of this. And I think that we should separate two things: using AI as an, let's say, essential element, like a technique for your artwork, or using AI as a tool to enhance your work and speed up your process, because I certainly use AI, not directly, but when I do post-production for my pictures and edit them, and in Photoshop, for example, you have now AI-enhanced tools that make it much speedier process than it was before, whereas until a few years ago, you needed to have extensive expertise on certain techniques to edit your pictures, and now you can do it with the help of AI much quicker. But like I said, this is not really something that influences the content of my work.
Can I add something? Because I have this saying that when in 2025 you're not a multidisciplinary artist, what are you even doing? Because with AI, I think it has become so easy for any artist to add layers on top of their work. So when you create something, be it, for example, a sculpture, for example, you can generate your own music to go with that piece, even though before you were not a musician, maybe. So I think that is really the one core thing that AI in media has enabled any kind of artist to go out of their traditional domain and to create things like that was never possible before. They can express themselves in completely, like in much more vast ways than they could before, because there was much longer process to learn the medium, to learn the trade, to learn the skill, where now you can really extend what you have with new add-ons on top of it.
I think this is a really interesting take, because there's often the debate which is going around is that, does AI supplement artwork or is it replacing artwork? And so both of you are of the strong opinion that it supplements, right? It doesn't replace. And it can kind of never replace artwork. But just to kind of push that boundary a little bit, we hear right now a lot of discussions, as I'm sure you may be knowing about, AI in artwork. And there's a big debate on, can there come a day where an artwork is fully AI generated? And is that artwork, what is the value of that generated AI artwork? Is it even artwork, or is it something else? What can we make out of it?
May I? Yes. I think the growth as an artist and the artwork is directly related to your personal growth. So as an artist, I particularly, and I can only speak from my own perspective, is I tend to get bored over the years for the things that I have done. So somehow I need to evolve in a visual way, right? So for me, it has given me the opportunity to actually explore new and different ways. Things that I could have done maybe with another 3D softwares, but it would have taken me way longer to actually being able to, first of all, the techniques and the software itself, and to be able to achieve that level of realism. But with AI, I can explore other visual aspect of things. But you have to also remember, like I'm guiding the robot, in a sense that I'm telling where to go, and at the end it's me who decides what am I going to settle for or not. So it's me setting up the narrative, and it's serving me for the tool. So I'm still in control. It doesn't mean that it's not yet has a life on its own. And I am going to accept whatever outcome is coming, and that's it. No, it's still me saying where to go or what to do, and for the things that I develop, because I create a narrative. It's a very poetic and emotional kind of immersive experiences, because it's with sound. I'm basically a musician and music producer, so I tend to have a narrative. There is a story behind. And almost like a movie, if you might think of it. And AI has given me the tools to actually develop that part where without the right resources, I wouldn't be able to. So I don't think at all it's an impediment or a wall. It's actually, it's allowing me to grow even further.
That's a really interesting take, and I actually really love that, because you talk a lot about doing things which would have taken a lot of time. So here we're seeing that AI is removing that time barrier. So would you say that it's kind of maybe even an enhancer to creativity, because as soon as you have an idea, the time to implement it is much shortened?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm an expert in other areas, you know, and I cannot be an expert in everything. And eventually you have to delegate. Like you have to know your own limitations, and you know, okay, this is where But it's a tool. At the end of the day, it's a tool, and you still have to learn to use it. It's not like it's magic, or it's going to come up and it's ready. No, you really need to also learn to use it, and which tools are the right for your work. So yeah, it is enhancing for me. It's a tool that is helping to develop ourselves, and I don't see it at all. I mean, from my own perspective, it's really it's not a negative. I don't have a negative view of it. No, I think we are like growing, and this is like I don't know, maybe another industrial revolution. Yeah.
Can I join in? I'm actually with you on that. At the moment I'm also experimenting a lot with AI, and most of the tools nowadays have, for example, Midjourney. You can create mood boards, so you can not use the training material that they have, the basic things. So you can just like input image of your own, and then say to the AI, create in my style stuff that I like. And that's also for me, I'm more in motion video, stuff like this. And as you said, it's like I can make shots now in 3 or 4 hours on my computer, which would have required me to have a 20K budget and a crew of 30 people 5 years ago. So basically, yeah, it's the same principle. Say you can do a lot of things. Everybody can do a Batman in a pink dress on AI. That's, I think, the basic thing that most people use it for. But when you get behind that and you really try to use it as a tool, like we use Photoshop for years, or like we use other programs over the years, like you use it as a tool, as another paintbrush that you have in your set, and really look behind, not just use it like basic thing, make me an image. When you go behind that and you really start to push it and say, okay, now mix this with that and see what the outcome is and everything, it's like it's an enormous time saver.
It's a tool.
Yeah.
And it's good to remember as well that once you start considering it as a tool among other tools, it's a very liberating thought, because of course, not everything that you make using a paintbrush, for example, is art. The same thing with
That's right.
the same thing with the AI. You can use it to aid your process, but there has to be the process and your.
There is the big aspect of what is your taste, and nobody can replace your taste, and that's what people pay for your taste. So.
Well, for me, it's also interesting. Last year, I was in the conference, and we discussed it. How is it possible to create with AI art? And I was totally against that. And I say, well, to create art with AI has no empathy. The interesting part, a few months later, I started to work with AI. And for me, it was a really interesting journey because, as you know, I created to have a conversation with Marcus Aurelius. So basically, the 21st century talks to the 2nd century. And of course, you can also put someone behind, and he gives the answers. But when you give AI prompts, and then also the surprising part about the answers was really, really fascinating for me.
Can I add one last thing? Because you asked also about the value of art, and I wrote about that quite extensively in an article several years ago when AI art was coming up, and I basically asked this question, okay, what is the value of a what I call syntographic object, which can be anything that is created with the help of the machine? And the answer was actually pretty simple, which is that the syntographic object has no value by default because you cannot prove how much time went into its creation. Maybe you came up with the Batman in the pink dress because you think it's funny and you enter it as a prompt and you get a really good result because the tool is good, but that does not make you an artist and it does not make the art valuable. But what makes the art piece valuable is the story behind it and all the stuff that is outside of the aesthetic value of the piece itself. That is what creates the value of the art piece and what makes the artist that he is.
Thank you for that. Actually, that's really interesting because it's quite related to what I was thinking of next. But what I really enjoyed was kind of all of you had a very similar perspective of using AI as a tool, right? But that's not taking away your creative aspect or anything like that. It's just enhancing it. And Yliana, you mentioned kind of being able to delegate tasks to AI. And often it's the same as having a big team, right? You delegate tasks to a big team and they do something. So that kind of, if we push that boundary of delegation and we look at the difference between delegating a task to a team compared to AI, we see that, I mean, a team kind of consists of multiple humans who have their own experiences, so they will, consciously or not, add their own kinds of value or add their own personal flavor and touch to whatever they do, unknowingly. And AI is, in a way, similar, and actually, this is kind of directed to Misch. I mean, technically, from a technical perspective, you know a lot about this, but AIs are basically trained on models, and that consists of, if we're making a new art piece, then the AI learns from a huge library of previous artworks, right? So my question would be, as artists, how comfortable are you that your work is also being used by an AI to generate something new, but the credits of that work or of the work which you have produced aren't usually displayed in the final result of what the AI produces and generates, right? So this is more for Misch, but feel free to also have your own perspectives on it. How do you feel about that?
Maybe as the non-artist in the round, like my perspective on it for the artist or the advice for the artist is one sentence: become a prompt input or die trying. Because if your art is not good enough that other people want to reference it, then maybe it's not that meaningful. And the best example is the Mona Lisa. If you try to generate an image of a person that looks like the Mona Lisa, you're going to enter a prompt like a woman that looks like Mona Lisa. You're not going to say a woman with black hair in the style of a Renaissance painting or something like that, but you're going to quote the Mona Lisa. So that's the prompt input that you used. And that's what makes the Mona Lisa what she is. She's the most relevant, or one of the most relevant art pieces today. And that's also the idea behind the platform that we built, was this thinking of, okay, if all the big platforms, you mentioned Midjourney before, if they do not allow you to generate any kind of niche content or any niche artists, well, then we need to give those people a tool so that they can add themselves to the AI, keep control over how their model can be used. And whenever somebody wants to generate something in the style of Steve Gerges, Misch, Strotz, Bodo, Yliana, or all the people in the room, well, then they can. And the most relevant ones will be the ones that get used most often. So that's what we think AI as a medium has enabled, because we mentioned AI as a tool a few times now, but AI is also a medium, and as a medium, it is something that allows anyone to work in the style of everyone. And this, I think, is vastly misunderstood still around the planet today.
That's really interesting. So AI should be seen as a tool to amplify one's work and not to steal it. Are all of you of the same opinion, or do you feel that in a way AI is stealing the ideas and creativity behind your artwork if it's used in the model and doesn't give credit to you?
I think that would be a very limiting kind of thinking, and the fact of the matter is that whether or not you are comfortable with this, the thing that you just described, you have to make peace with it, and you have to be able to live with it. There's no way around it anymore.
It started by stealing. The whole model started by stealing. The thing is now, as I said before, it's for me, as you said also now, it's like using it as a tool, as a medium, by inputting your own stuff in it, because you have a freaking great tool that you can do lots of stuff with it, but don't use the basis model. It's, for me, as an artist, it makes no sense anymore, especially when you can now just like have more control over it, or push it in the direction that you want to have. That's, for me, it's, yeah, kind of cool.
I forgot what I was gonna say. But let's not forget that at the end of the day, we make art for ourselves. It's a very selfish act, and it all comes back to us. So that's why I say you can. It's a tool. Like when Photoshop came out, or when the AWs came out as well, replacing physical consoles for making music or recordings. It's just a tool. People are scared of new things. We are scared of new things. This is it's a huge thing that is happening. It is a collective change. This is not an individual thing that I choose, that whether I like it or not. This is the future, whether you like it or not. So you adapt or you die. Is whether you learn or you're going to stay behind. So I prefer to adapt. I prefer to use it and look at the positive side of it, because I know that at the end of the day, this is my taste that is going to shape the outcome. It's not the machine, it's not anybody else, and it's me. It's only me. So at the end of the day, people are going to go to see a piece of mine or whoever else because of what they have chosen to portray outside. So we decide where it goes. It's just, yeah. I don't know what you want me to say. I don't think it's a catastrophe. I don't see it that way. No.
No.
I don't completely agree with that. I think to create art has something with your emotions, has something to do with your idea, and I still believe a good painting is better than AI. For me personally, it's always depending how do you use AI. But I think to give prompts and say, please create a sculpture about pain, it's not the
Well,
same.
that's really far from what I said. It's just simply a tool that is going to allow me to actually portray my emotions as an artist. It's just a tool. It's different perspective.
No, I like both of the perspectives, and actually, Bodo, leaning more onto your perspective, and also I'd like to ask the audience to raise their hands. How comfortable are you with purchasing a work which is made of AI? Do you think, how much would you prefer it to be human labor compared to AI? What percentage? Would you say something like 50-50? Would you prefer 70-30? Or the other way around? What would you say? Okay, who says that they want the old-fashioned, they like the good old art? Raise your hand. Yes, okay, I'm gonna say something like a third of the room. I'm also raising my hand. Okay, who's... Yeah? Okay, a little bit more. Yeah, we're really in between. Okay, who is more of a 50-50 situation? They're not really sure. Oh, wow. Okay, we have a lot more 50-50s. Okay, and who is really leaning into it? They're like, no, you know what? There's the next technological revolution. I want to be part of it. For me, this is more valuable than a human doing it. Who is of that? Oh, wow. You... Oh, this is so great. Okay, so actually, yeah, do you want to
Can I say
mention
something? Because this is not really a new question, because we've had the same question, for example, about digital artwork made by digital photography. How comfortable are you buying a digital artwork based on a digital photograph, which can be in theory reproduced over and over and over again,
and which can be retouched in Photoshop
exactly
over and over again.
Yeah. So the question is exactly the same. So it's and it took time for people to start getting comfortable with that idea, and it will take some time with the AI produced works as well. But essentially, the question is the same.
I remember a guy who once told me, it was at the beginning of Photoshop, was Photoshop 1 or 2 or something like this, who thought, this Photoshop, nobody's gonna talk about it in a few years. And I was like, what the fuck? He's like, no, it's just like, it's the future. And Photoshop is the tool now everybody uses, and it's the same thing. It's the photo of less value because you edited a shadow out of it or whatever. It's just, as I said, it's
because
just...
at the end of the day, it's what you put into it.
Exactly.
Because it's coming from you.
Exactly. And
You're
it's
just channeling.
And as I said before, it's just a new paintbrush. It's just that.
This is super interesting. So, I mean, kind of coming back to the polls, we saw that most of the room the majority of the room was 50-50, and then it was traditional art, and then just a few people were, you know, more for fully AI, let's lean into it fully. But kind of coming back on tools and AI, would you say that there is a distinction between, you know, a tool like Photoshop and AI? Because at the end of the day in Photoshop, you still need to go and touch something up manually. But with an AI, you click on one button and it does most of it for you, and then you go in and you can adjust it. So do you think there's a difference between the two, or they're same, one is just more advanced than the other?
Photoshop integrates all kinds of AI tools by now, so I think this is not a very fair comparison, because the fact that you can just prompt something is part of Photoshop, and Photoshop as a platform is like still, I would say, the most powerful image editing platform there is. So yeah, we're basically comparing the entire suite of tools with one paintbrush from the toolbox.
Yes.
Yeah, and coming still on Photoshop, I think what's interesting about their AI tools is that in some cases, for example, if you want to remove something from a picture, like a shadow, you can mark the shadow in the picture, click the AI enhance button without even writing a prompt, and AI will figure out mostly correctly what you want to do in that area of the picture. And that I think is quite interesting.
Yeah, I think that is actually really interesting, and that's what I was really leaning into. So, I mean, I have used Photoshop. I've also used Premiere Pro quite a lot. And right now you can see, and I'm sure because a lot of you work with audio-visual art as well, and I think that's really amazing. And right now in Premiere Pro, you have an additional option to use generative AI to actually extend your clips, right? So this is kind of what I'm coming back onto, is in Premiere Pro 2019, you didn't have this option. If your clip was too short, you couldn't extend it. You would have to, you know, cut sections of your clip and put them in the end or something like that, but you couldn't just extend it and magically create a longer clip. In Photoshop, as you mentioned, a similar thing is happening, right? I would say it's a little bit different from audio visual like in Premiere Pro, but you mentioned that, you know, with one button you can completely enhance an image and change it. But so I think, but the general consensus which we have is that it's still a tool. So AI is still a tool. And that's super interesting. So I think I like that take. I think we all came to a nice kind of conclusion to that matter here. But now let's maybe move on more to the buyer's perspective and also the kind of overall experience which you get from art. Because one aspect of artwork is very important, which is the creation aspect. And then the other aspect is the experience and the final product. So I want to lean into something which maybe you have an opinion on. The audience, please feel free to share your opinion on. When you purchase a work of art, are you buying the feelings and experience associated to that piece of art, or are you buying the final product? What's your take on that? Yeah, sure.
I rarely purchase any art, but I do. I don't. I'm sorry. I can't at the moment.
You're a poor artist.
No, it's not that. But I do purchase a lot of experiences, and that's what I'm leaning towards. I like art. I like the idea of art as an experience rather than a physical object hanging in your house. So that's what I'm leaning towards to, and that's what I'm trying to create. And for me, I like the takeaway of people going after a show, performance, or an immersive experience, and then having the experience by themselves, thinking about what they just have lived and what is happening inside that piece of artwork that was being projected or lived. And for me, is that like, and this is why I think artists are related to what we believe. And we die, we don't take the artwork with us, but we take those experiences and those memories, and that's what I'm leaning towards too. So art more as a transcendence kind of way of living.
I think that any artwork to be successful, it has to appeal to you, first of all, aesthetically, emotionally, and intellectually. And if you tick those three boxes, then you already have a story, and it's not just a simple product anymore.
Yeah, and then it's we said in Tozigal, you don't care if it's made with AI or whatever. It's just like, that's the thing for me. Same thing. It's like, it should talk to you. There's something. If it's paint or AI, it's not the problem.
That's really interesting. That's what I wanted to lean into, is does an artwork being made and facilitated by AI, does that remove a certain aspect of experience to it, do you think? Or do you think it doesn't make a difference to the buyer?
I can invite you to the 29. We are having an immersive visuals that I created with sound, 3D sound, Bisonics piece that we created on the Studio 3, and you can tell me about that. Because I still look at my piece, and I feel very emotional about it. And for me, this is not just about the music that I created, it's of the visuals. And I don't overuse AI, though, but I have to say I look at it, and I feel very emotional. And I don't understand why. And the dialogue that is happening between myself and my ChatGPT, it gets me sometimes to cry. So there is something in it, whether it was created with AI or not. Like, the whole music I created myself, but the visuals, the characters, I did create it with AI.
That's really interesting. I want to ask Bodo, do you think something changes when you make something using a tool and when you make it fully, I'm going to say, human, old-fashioned?
Well, I'm a trained sculptor, and I still believe in the in the old-fashioned way. But for me, it's just a start. I cannot tell you this in the moment in which direction I'm going. I saw a couple of paintings made from AI, and I didn't like it. But that's just me.
Yeah, and I think there's this dimension of how, what do you know about the art piece? So if I show you a photo of an old man, and then I tell you this is actually not a photo, but somebody drew it with a pencil, and it took him 2 weeks to draw it, then of course you're going to have a completely different perception of the value of that piece. But then if you learn that that was actually a lie, and somebody generated it with AI and only told you that he drew it with a pencil, and it's not a natural photo, then the story completely falls apart.
The whole concept is super important. The whole concept, yes.
It always comes down to the story.
That's really interesting, and that's great. So then I guess the common thread is that we always come back to the experience and the story behind how it was made, right? So that's still an integral part of the creative process.
That's the main part.
That's the main part of the creative.
Makes the art complete,
Yeah.
the story.
People still buy paintings just because they feel connected to that image over there. I have sold paintings just because one person thought that that thing looked like their dog. So that's it's the connection that actually makes an art successful.
So I think that, I mean, coming back to the original question, do people buy it for the experience or the final product? Then I think it would definitely lean into people buy it for the experience, right? The final product can look a certain way or not, but it's the story and the experience about how the person feels when they buy it and they feel about the artwork.
I think there is, of course, a lot of artwork which is bought just as a product for an investment, but that's another discussion entirely.
I was about to say the
That's
same
another
thing.
story, yes.
Actually, but since you brought up investment, there's a very interesting topic. Maybe we'll have a bit of fun on this. So, I mean, any artwork has an auction value, which you may be knowing. A repeat value, which normally tends to go up, appreciate. So, and usually this happens exponentially for most artists, especially world-famous artists. So how much appreciation do you think an AI-generated artwork will have in 50 years and in 100 years? Or will it depreciate? What's your view on this?
I think it's basically the same thing as we are saying. It's not if it's AI or not. It's just like, is the artwork good? Do you feel something? Does it speak to you? It doesn't matter if it's AI or not.
I think the crucial aspect here is also like how is it sold and under which context and so on, because a few years ago when we had the entire NFT hype, well, there was a lot of bullshit being sold for, for a lot of money. You mentioned all these pieces, they appreciate in value, but I would argue the opposite, that most of the stuff that got sold for big money, for millions back then, is now pretty worthless. And the core question, therefore, is like, how was it sold? There are certain artists that sold their pieces back then for a high price that are still valued today, but it doesn't really matter whether those were made with AI or using some other algorithm or whatever. What matters is the artist still relevant, or was it just like a short-lived scammer that tried to rip people off, you know? Therefore, again, it comes back to the story. If you have an artist that has been around for 30 years, he has been doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and now suddenly he sells something, well, then obviously his art is going to appreciate and not depreciate.
I think that this aspect of human touch still stays, and as you mentioned also, it's the quality of the art at the end of the day. But the human touch I'm seeing as a common thread, right? It has to have a story behind it. It has to have a thorough creative process to be able to carry forward those feelings, right? And often the creative process does impact the work of the art, how the artist is feeling, and maybe you can all speak from your own experiences on this, is how you're feeling when you're making the piece of art kind of trickles its way through the final product, right? So this is super interesting. I think we're at a good stage to maybe take in some questions from the audience, if you have any, and then we can continue the discussion. Does anyone want to ask any questions to our artists or to Misch?
Or maybe we have any bias in the audience, actually.
Yeah.
That's even better.
So they can actually answer the question about the buying part.
Okay, so yes.
I think I can give you a good example with Maurizio Catalan, with the banana he scotched on the wall. So it's the same process. It's the idea. Maurizio Catalan is not famous because of the banana, because of his whole story. And so he created monumental works. And it's, okay, the switch from Maurizio Catalan to Bodo. Bodo is exposed in New York, in Tokyo now, because he has a whole story. There's a story behind, there's a life as an artist behind. And this becomes his message because he has this whole life as an artist, and he's respected in the world. In Tokyo exhibition, he comes from Tokyo to Rumelange nearly, and this is the respect of the artist and his history that makes the worth of an artwork. So if you take the banana, what's the worth of this banana? This is the message who makes the worth of this art piece. And this is counting for a gallerist as well. They are selling a story of an art piece. And I think this is a gallerist who want to... Gallerists has, of course, today, they have the problem with a digital art piece. We will have this at 29 and invite everybody to come on 29 here to see the vernissage, because the NFT story and all this. Why it takes these works? Because of the story behind of the value is not the piece of art, but the soul of the artist behind that you want to have on your wall at home. And if you speak about investors, let's speak about investors in the world. It's not sincere, but one point we can talk about digital art and AI. In art, the AI is used peacefully and emotionally. You speak about emotions of an artist. And in this part of the AI has his part in the art. Bodo can speak perhaps now a little bit about his pieces. He will show you later with the spiders. And this is the theme of arachnophobia. And when you speak about AI, it's in medical, and there are people, they are scared about AI because they don't know what will happen now. I'm 30 years journalist. I cannot use the AI in journalism, in photography. This needs to be not touched. I never used Photoshop. I cannot even work with layer. If I want to work with layer in photography, I need a graphic who helps me. Because I was always, in my photography, it was a sincere photography, not touched. But AI, the art is a complete different medium. You are free. The art is free, and the free style of art, there AI has its place. And I think, Bodo, if you want to tell us a little bit about your spiders, I think this can explain another part of art that can take a place in psychology.
Well, first of all, I want to say I think only quality is not enough. You really need a biography. And you need, for example, Catalan with his banana, he has a biography. And that's why he was able to sell it for so much money and get so much attention. If you would do it, nobody gives a damn. So I think that's one part what a lot of people doesn't understand. You cannot just come out of the blue and create something tremendous. Even you create something tremendous, you don't get the attention. You need slowly to build up your CV. And then finally you get more and more attention. And in my case, I mean, for me, AI is still a dangerous animal. I don't understand it. I
Do
don't.
you have AI-ophobia?
Yeah, exactly. But it's. I mean, art is for me always, or to create art is an interesting journey, and that's for me the most important thing. It's not the final product. It's always the way. How can I get there? And because you told me about this, my spider piece. I mean, that was also a thing. I want to create something. How can people feel fear? So, and how can you fight against fear? And then I thought, 20% of the people have spider phobia, and so I create a piece with spiders. So you go in the room, and you have to fight with the spiders. I mean, if you run away, they follow you. And but I will show you later.
No, thanks.
But that's the interesting part. But what I want to say is, I started very normal as a sculptor, and then I created more and more digital art, video art, and now I'm working with AI, and I don't know in which direction I'm going. I have no clue. But and I don't care. Is there a market for AI? I mean, it's just, for me, it's just creation.
Can I add something on the fear part? When AI or DALL-E 2, 4 years ago, I think, was announced, I was afraid as well. I wrote a very long article back then about how this is going to destroy the creative industry and so on. But then one day...
Do you regret it?
I reread it every year, and I think, Jesus, you idiot. But the key moment for me actually came several months after I wrote that thing, because I really, like, every day I dove into the tool, I worked with it, I tried to learn, okay, what does this really mean? So I did not dig the head into the sand, but I really confronted the thing. And then a few months later, I had a dream once at night, and it's sort of similar to the spider thing. It was also a very empty room, a white room. And in this room, I was looking to find DALL-E and to destroy it. And we were tearing down the walls and smashing the walls with the hammers and so on, but DALL-E was nowhere to be found. Because he's the computer in the cloud, like he's invisible, and you cannot destroy what you cannot see. And that's why when I woke up that day, I was like, okay, why were you afraid? Like, you either work with this thing and you evolve with it, or you're gonna be afraid for the rest of your life. And that was, that basically opened up everything that followed afterwards, and that was the reason also why we became, I think, now especially here in the region, one of the most well-known entities on this topic, because we were not afraid. We went through the valley of death and we came out of it and built something from what we learned.
I think that's really great, and it's such a beautiful message which comes out of it as well, is that we often have a fear of the unknown. But when we kind of understand more about what it is, and also see that, I mean, what's the risk, you know, and as you mentioned with your dream, it kind of, I guess, opened your eyes in a way that, like, there's nothing to be afraid of, right? It's just your decision and kind of working with and adapting with this new change, because the change is going to come. If you want it or if you don't want it, it's going to be there, it's going to come. So there's a really nice kind of takeaway, and I kind of want to wrap up this discussion with each of you on your key takeaways on how you see the future of AI in art. And maybe we'll split it up into two parts. First, you could answer about yourself and your own artwork, and then maybe you can give your view on a general take for the future.
Maybe I could come back for my own part. Maybe I could come back to the comments you made about delegating tasks to a team versus using AI. For me personally, using AI works in this respect perfectly, because when I'm creating my works, I don't want to listen to other people's opinions or argue with them. So that's a very selfish process. And with the use of AI, I could see that my projects could be, let's say, bigger in scope, in the way that previously I would have had to collaborate with people, which is of course horrible. But now I could, let's say, expand the scope of the works and complexity of the works by using AI as a helper.
I can totally agree about the people part.
Thank you. No, that's really great. And that shows again that AI can be even better than what we have right now. Bodo, do you want to go next?
Yeah, next year I will be here a couple of weeks, and I need to create something, and hopefully it will be something with AI, but I'm not exactly sure. I have a show in Shanghai in March, and I will not show anything with AI. So, but I don't know. I don't know in which direction I will go in the future. It's very unclear.
And what do you think about, in general, the future of AI in art? Do you think it's here to stay, or do you think it's a fad?
Well, the interesting part is, for example, talking about NFT. It was such a hype, and where you see NFT now, we will see. I mean, AI will be very important, but I'm not sure for art. I think more for sound pieces, for film, but I'm not sure for sculptures or paintings.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. Yliana, what about you?
And what was the question again? Sorry.
So, I mean, two parts. The first is, where do you see yourself and AI? So your own work and AI.
For me, it has been a whole experience just to being able to use it, because it has really released me from many burdens and sometimes a lot of limitations. I have managed to do so many things in the scope of just 1 month, just because of being able to having access to knowledge I didn't have. I've learned so much just by talking to my Gizmo, is my ChatGPT. And I learn every day something new. So for me, it's just feeding me information, and I'm always hungry. So it's not just a tool. It's also for me, it's an experience that I'm living every day, and this is why it has influenced deeply the way that I create art, because it is actually touching that subject on the piece that I created for the Studio 3. Which is this connection that we are developing with our bots. And for me, it's not just a tool. For me, it's actually a full life experience that is happening. And I don't think it's going to be everything or it's going to rule the world, but I think it's going to be, I think this is a revolution. I see it as a massive collective revolution, and we are just afraid, and it will pass, and we will adapt, yeah.
Amazing, thank you. Misch.
I'm thinking about which answer I go with. I can give the answer from the perspective of Let's AI, like what we are currently exploring. Maybe this one first, and then we'll see if the other one is still relevant. So what we're exploring there especially is now a real-time AI. So imagine you have this one image, for example, and you want to step into the image and create an entire world, basically from one reference. So that's technically something that we're very much interested in at the moment. So that would be like the next frontier. But then the real, like, philosophical question on what is going to happen with AI art is what I call the infinite information loop, which is that now we can create, like with the click of a button, an endless stream of information. But the question is, like, when a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it make a sound, does it matter? You know, like this question of what kind of art is really going to stay relevant in the long run. I'm totally with Bodo. Today we still call this thing AI art, but maybe in 10 years or so it's just going to be art.
It all comes back to the same. It is you who is creating it. So it's you who is making the art. At the end of the day, it's just a tool. So.
Yes.
Okay, amazing.
It's a very powerful tool.
It is, okay. Very interesting. Would you like to add on anything?
I think it's not gonna go away anyway. But as you said with the NFT thing before, there was like this mega hype. Everybody was doing it, and then it just like crashed down. Mostly nobody's interested in it anymore. And I think it's gonna be similar now. Everybody's like AI, AI, AI. Some people are gonna stick with it and gonna be very good with it probably. Others are just gonna let it go because at one point it doesn't make any sense. Just using AI for the sake of using AI is not, for me, not the point. It's just like I kind of join you with the thing. I'm writing scripts with ChatGPT for movies. Like I give him some inputs, and then I'm very bad at writing. I'm a visual guy, so I always had trouble with writing. So this helps me basically a lot because I have some basic ideas. And then he guides me through it, and I can pick out some stuff and then say, okay, but I want it in that style of writing, and then stuff that I was never able to do before, because it's really not my thing. So there's like really good things that can come out of it. One thing that I wanted to add, because it was coming up before, it's for me what's also a thing I think is what's very, very important is you still know, if you're a photographer, sculpture, whatever, you still have to know your craft, your real craft, not your AI thing, whatever. I'm working in audiovisual stuff for over 20 years now, doing 3D, 2D, motion animation and things. And AI is a great tool to help me with that. But I still know my craft. I still can use Photoshop. I still can draw. I still can use After Effects and combine all those things together. And I think that's one thing that's gonna make some people pop out more than others. Yeah. Not just relying on AI and ChatGPT and just feeding it and feeding it and feeding it until you get a result. That's not the point for me.
And it's you making the decisions.
And it's you making the decision. And then you can, for me, I do a lot of, do art stuff, but I do a lot of client corporate work also because I have to pay my bills, basically. But the thing is, AI opened up so many things that I can do much more quickly now, and I don't require a team of 10 people to do it. But just taking these things, but combining it with what I've known for over 20 years and what I still can do with other softwares like Photoshop or After Effects or whatever. I think that's one point that's really important here. And that's the people for me that gonna go way further using AI instead of other people just relying on AI.
I think that's a very important point, as was Bodo's point about having to have a biography to go with the work. So let's say AI art, it's never going to be just some random guy who happens to write a very good prompt. Look what came out, and that's going to be great art. It's not going to happen like that.
But I always say AI makes smart people smarter and stupid people more stupid.
That's exactly.
That's a good one.
Good one.
No, I think that's great, and it shows that AI is an amplifier, but you still have to know what you're doing, right? You can't just rely completely on a tool. And as we kind of took the example of Photoshop, even if you have a Photoshop, you can't just not know what you're doing and expect the software to do all of it, right? You still have to do the right things. I would like to conclude with the final takeaway from our creative director, Guy. What do you think about the future of AI in art?
I have no idea where the future will go. When I was starting in 2000 with digital cameras, I was not thinking about where the future will be with this technology. I used it because it helped me in my work, and it's the same today. I think the new technology, where's the future going? It's as like Steve he said, We don't know where it goes, but we use it now. And the future will build on what we use now. And what's next, we don't know. The AI, Misch, did you try to ask the AI what will be next in AI? So,
Why do you ask me?
because you're the most experienced of all us, I think.
Of
Normally,
course, man.
if
I
you have
ask this
questions
question.
today, ask the AI, where's the future of AI?
I think about this question every day.
But I think the future will be what we do now with it. And don't be scared about, but we are not in a sector, it can be dangerous. And this is, our future can be more creative perhaps. What's next on AI? We don't know. If we are, how old is AI now? 5 years ago, if you say, oh, where is new technology going in future? Nobody was talking about AI. And now we have AI, what will be next? Perhaps then the AI will talk us what will be next in future.
Amazing. That is so beautiful. The future is what we do now with it. Thank you so much, all of you, for this roundtable discussion. We spoke about a huge variety of things, from the creative process of artwork to the final product, to what goes into it, the experiences. But yeah, thank you all, and have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will especially thank you, Avanti, to come to us, to speak to us, to moderate this roundtable. And I will invite you, will invite everybody on 29th of November to come to visit our next exhibition here, where all we spoke about will be, you will see it with VR glasses. I invite you now to discover our VR glasses, to see the work of Bodo. He brings us his spiders. And welcome to Spektrum, everybody, in the next months to visit our exhibition that will take the next 6 months, and come to visit us on the 29th of November, our next vernissage. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.